Hello everyone, let's look at set matrix zeros. The problem statement is, we are giving an m multiply n matrix. If an element is 0, then set its entire row and column to 0, and we need to do it in place. For this problem, the most straightforward solution is to have a copy of the input matrix. Then, we only need to update the copy matrix while we loop through the original matrix. But the requirement here is we need to do it in place. This means the space complexity has to be constant. Also, we cannot loop once and update the value in place. Let's look at example 2. We have 0 at first column at first row, and then it will make the whole row and whole column 0. When we move to 0, 2, that's this place, and then it's already 0. It will mark the whole column 0, and in the end, we end up getting the whole matrix 0. This is definitely not what we want. The approach we can take is to use the first cell of every row and column as a flag to determine if this whole row and column should be set to 0, because as long as there is one element is 0, then the corresponding row and column need to be set to 0 anyway. This is the snippet I was talking about here. So, as long as there's a 0, the corresponding column and row will flag its first cell as 0. Then, we can loop through the matrix again to set elements to 0. For this element, as long as the corresponding row and column's first cell is set to 0, then the item should be 0 here. And finally, we also need to determine if the first row and the first column itself should be set to 0. That's to check if there are original zeros in the first row and column before even we set the flag. Well, enough talking here. Let's dive into the code implementation. Initially, we need to have two variables to determine if we need to set first row to 0 or first column to 0. Their initial value can be remain undefined. We will update the value later. Let's have our for loop. And inside the loop, we do our logic check here. And we also update our first row 0 and first column 0. After this, we have set all our flags, and then we can use the flags to do our iteration the second time. So the second time, we can start from 1 rather than start from 0. And then let's copy this logic in And then let's do our final check based on the flag here and here. So this is to fill all the first row to be 0. And then let's check the first column. Let's submit. It passed. Let's look at the complexity here. Space is constant because we change it in place. Time is O of m multiplied n because that's how we do the iteration. We have 2 layers from row and then from column. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching.